there is an underrated ability that you need to have in order to be successful, to maintain your mental health, in order to progress in the way you want to go. And this ability, for some reason, is very difficult for people. Um, and I think it's harder for people who are naturally people-pleasing people, um, and or people who are encountering some success in whatever they're doing, and they feel like they need to do certain things in order to quote unquote ride the wave of success or strike while the iron's hot. And I'm personally used to not think this was hard, and then I went through a period where I found it kind of hard, and then now I don't find it difficult, and I didn't really realize until I started talking to some people, hearing Andy Frisella talk about on the Real AF podcast, and I want to kind of vamp on what he was talking about in that episode a little bit more in depth and have an entire episode dedicated to it, because the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it is a super crucial ability. It's not even a skill, really. It might be a skill if you look at it that way, but it's really an ability. And that is the ability to say no. Just say no. And I'm not saying say no to drugs, although you shouldn't really do drugs. LOL. What I'm referring to here is saying no in various circumstances, in various situations, in order to not stretch yourself too thin, in order for you to stick with a goal, in order to stick on track for the progress you're making in the program you're doing, or the goals you have aligned, like kind of staying on point and keeping the main thing the main thing. And the reason why I believe it's hard for people to say no to certain people, to certain things, and look, this can be in a lot of different areas, okay? So I want you to apply this to, um, apply this to your circumstance, because anybody listening to this, you might be in various different situations. You might be in various different progressions in whatever you're doing. And you need to be able to apply what we're talking about to your specific situation. There's endless situations that I'm going to probably focus more on the business aspect of it, or something like that, just to keep this episode a bit streamlined. But the ability to say no, I think, affects people who are pleasing people the most, because you are worried about the reaction of that person and the disapproval you'll think you'll get, or the disappointment you'll think you'll get by saying no. But the reality is their reaction and their feelings to you saying no is not your responsibility. Okay? And I see a lot of people, a lot of my clients, they're when I first meet with them, they're really stretched thin because they've said yes to so many things. Helping out with the brunch this Sunday, helping out with the women's retreat, helping out with, a church camp, helping out with this, helping out with that, helping out with this. And I'm all for volunteering. In fact, I encourage volunteering. But if you're saying yes to things that are not in the scope of what you're trying to do, that aren't aligned with your values, that aren't aligned with, well, that's an easy one to say no to things that are aligned to your values, but some people struggle with that still. If you're saying yes to these things that are going to ultimately set you back, you need to learn to say no. Okay? Here's an easy one. Okay? Let's say you're on a fitness journey. Let's say you get up early to go to the gym before work, or you have your business, and you get up early to train to keep your body right, because fitness is a huge part of what we talk about on this show. Fitness is a huge thing I talk about with my clients. I'm not saying everybody's got to be an athlete, but you need to be able to take care of your body. But let's say your friends want to go out on a Thursday night or a Friday night or whatever, and you know that if you go out with them, and it could be nothing crazy, it could just be like you're going to go out for dinner, maybe have a glass of wine or whatever. I'm not necessarily meaning to go party, although this could apply to that too. But if that restaurant that you're supposed to go to isn't gonna have the meals you're supposed to have, it's gonna keep you out late, it's gonna make you oversleep, you're gonna have to skip the gym. That is a really tough one for people, because they feel like, I need to have this social life. And I think, yes, you should be able to have a social life, but there are situations that aren't going to set you up for success. If you had true friends, they would want to do things with you that would align with your goals, with your, you know, just the lifestyle that you want to have. And I had a client in particular who she was branching off. She did a complete 180 in her life. And she still had friends from her past. And I never told her to cut them off, but I did say, you're gonna figure out which of your friends are actual friends and not just acquaintances, because you're gonna see them either change with you, because the life that they were living was not um, leading anywhere. They were drinking a lot. They were doing drugs. They were partying. They really had nothing going for them. They had okay jobs, but they weren't doing anything, extraordinary. And she had dreams. She had goals. She changed her life. She completely did a 180. Everything from her fitness to her food to what she consumed, down to the music she listened to the content she consumed, to the social media people, or the people that she followed on social media. And she completely did a 180. But the thing that was hard for her was that she was growing distance from her friends, and her friends were making her feel bad about it. And I told her, I said, later on, weeks went by and it was getting harder and harder for her. And I saw it being a physical stressor for her, because she was also trying to please them because she loved them and she thought they loved her. She was trying to please them so much and not create tension. She was saying yes to going out, even though she wouldn't drink, and she was saying yes to hanging out with them, even though she didn't like what they talked about and how they talked and their vernacular and things like that. And so I just told her, I said, why don't you go do your own thing? And you're going to either A, meet new people, or B, you're going to have friends that go with you with that. And why don't you just say no to certain things? And it took a long time for her to work up the courage, and she ended up saying no to a couple things. And I think she only had one from that friend group that ended up sticking around with her and made some life changes with her. And now they're really good friends. But guess what? When she went to do, I believe it was like some sort of like women's boot camp thing. It was like a fitness class. This was months ago, so I'm trying to recall the story. Um, she ended up meeting like a group of like-minded people, and she is now, last I checked, I haven't talked to her in a while, but this client, like I said, was like 8 months ago. She began to run with those friends, and they were doing more positive things that were aligned to, even like, they wouldn't go, like when they would go out to eat, whether it was, with their last friends, even if they were just going to go by bite to eat, they would go somewhere that didn't have a lot of healthy options. It would be super late at night, which was really jacking up her sleep schedule. And these friends are completely different, even on the little things. They were going out earlier. They were going places that had better food options. They were talking about investing money. They had, progressed pretty far in their careers, or some of them had their own businesses. And it was just amazing to see how her saying no to something simple as going out with her friends and doing her own thing instead led to a completely different, it was a really, honestly, it seems really simple. It seems really simple, but that's what this show is about. It's not complicated. It seems like a really simple thing that she did, but it ended up, those decisions ended up compounding on themselves in order for her to continue progressing, in the way she wanted to go in life. Because what she was doing was, she herself made a complete 180, and she was making progress, but she was hitting barriers. I wouldn't say plateauing, because, she was kind of limiting her progress because she was still keeping these people around. And I know it's hard for people to cut people off, and that's not really what I'm talking about on this show. I just want to touch on this topic for a second. Sometimes people aren't meant to be in your life for forever. Sometimes people are just meant to be in your life for a season, okay? Some people aren't supposed to be in your life at all, and those toxic people, you cut them out. But there's going to be people that come and go in your life, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you have ill will towards them. That doesn't mean that you're going to, shun them or whatever, but it's just that, you go through different seasons in life. You don't live in the same house for forever, probably. You don't have the same job for forever. You don't do the same things for forever. So why wouldn't your friends change? I personally have had forcible changes with friends, because like I was in the military, and you get different people in your unit, you go close to some people, and then for one reason or another, they aren't around anymore, or they go somewhere else, or you go somewhere else. So I understand what it's like to only have people in your life for a season. I've had best friends when I was in the military that I do not talk to. We might send each other memes on Instagram or whatever, but we don't talk anymore because our lives are not the same. We all of us got out of the military. We all live in different states. We all do different things. We all have different careers. We all have different we all have different wives, obviously, because we don't share the same wife, but we all have different like lifestyles, and that's okay. But in the military, we all had the same lifestyle. We were all in the Marine Corps together. We were all infantrymen together. I did have a friend who was an infantryman, and we were best friends, but we all had the same similar life. But, as time progresses, we don't anymore. We all live in different states. We all do different things, like I already said. And the ability to say no when it comes to things in business, when it comes to, I see this a lot with some of my clients that have online businesses. They have people that want to collab with them, or they might want to partner with someone, and that person has reach and a lot of success, but that person doesn't necessarily have the same values as them. And I encourage them to say no to those things, because if you begin to link yourself to these things that don't align with your values, you'll then begin to compromise your morals and values in order to work with that person. And that's why I always remind people, and I have my clients write down their vision, write down their goal of what they want to accomplish, how they want it to look, even down to how much money they want to make by this time next year. And I ask them, when it comes to those decisions, does that align with your vision? Does that align with your goal? Because sometimes in the moment it seems like a good idea, but if you think things through, saying yes to certain things isn't always a great idea. I'm not saying to never say yes. What I'm saying is you got to learn to say no and when to say no. And you'd be surprised on how much stress you'll relieve, how much time you'll free up, how much, freedom personally you have by just saying no. And I'm going to say this again. The reaction to the people you say no to, their reactions are not your responsibility. And if they truly loved you, they truly care about you, they truly wanted to be there in your life, they would understand why you would say no. They would get it. And they'll be there for you for the next thing in your life. They'll invite you to something else. And they'll say yes or no to you when you ask them something, right? This idea of people pleasing, if you try to please everybody, you'll end up pleasing nobody, and you'll only dissatisfy yourself. That's like, for example, with people like myself and the people that I help with their, consulting, I guess, with their content creation for their businesses, specifically with some of my clients or some friends of mine that I help propel their business. I have friends that have online business, I have clients that have online businesses, and they use content to kind of promote their business. I tell them, make content that you like. Because at the end of the day, if you try to please everybody, you're going to please no one. You're going to miss your ideal client. You're going to miss out on. At the end of the day, you're going to get burnt out. And that's with every situation. You keep saying yes to things. You keep trying to bend your will in order to please people. You're going to get burnt out. That's just a fact. If you make content that you like, and I'm using this content as an analogy, if you do business that you like, there's going to be things within your business that you don't like to do, right? Like there are certain things with my business that I don't like to do. But if you strive for creating things that you want, that you would watch, that you would use, that you would buy or whatever, then you're not going to get as burnt out because you're going to stay focused and you're going to be excited to do those things. And you're going to want to better yourself within that scope of what you're doing. Okay. So to wrap this up, just a quick one today, learn to say no. It's a really good ability to have. You're going to free up your time. You're going to free up your mental stress, or you're going to have less stress. You're going to free up some of that mental health that everybody loves to talk about nowadays. And you're just going to be happier. Because guess what? When you say no to someone, they're going to get over it. They'll probably forget they even asked you. All right? It's not going to, very rarely you saying no to someone is going to absolutely crush their life. Okay? So learn to say no, stay focused on what you're doing, and just keep getting after it. I want to thank everybody for listening. It means a lot that you would tune into this episode. I want to let you know that I'm very grateful that you would take time to listen to the show. If you've liked this episode, or there's other episodes you like, feel free to message me and tell me about it on Instagram @SimpleDisciplines on Instagram. Share it with your friends. Okay, the show's free. It actually costs me money to do this show. So I can't stress this enough to share with your friends, get the word out, because I want this to help people and I want to help build a community behind the podcast, the Simple Disciplines Instagram page. It's kind of like where everybody kind of collabs at. So I appreciate everybody who listens. Follow the Instagram at Simple Disciplines on Instagram. And until next time, y'all have a good one. Peace.